Welcome to Stories of a Volunteeraholic. My name is Amy Tiemeyer, and I'm the author of the book, Stories of a Volunteeraholic. And today we have with us Tony Dayton, a really good friend of mine. Welcome, and thank you for spending some time with me.
Oh, yeah, I'm excited to be here. It's going to be great. I love volunteering. So.
I know you do. Absolutely. So were you raised volunteering? Like, what did that look like for you?
I mean, yes, absolutely. Unequivocally, yes. So almost like down the bloodline on my mother's side, right? So I would say grandpa, back some of the first memories I have that I have of that is working at the food banks. Right. So my grandmother, well, not at first, she wasn't the manager of the food bank. That actually got passed on to her. So for several years of my life, I was kind of like, I was the strong back, or let's say healthy back, because a lot of people that were there were older. Right. And so I would go in and lift the boxes and move everything around. I wouldn't say I was too strong because I was, 8, 9 years old, but I was a little laborer. And I was good at it and I enjoyed it. I think I get excited about lifting heavy things. I kind of remember that. And my grandpa would always tell me, he'd be like, you're going to throw out your back, use your legs. I'm like, the back's good, But yeah, so I mean, it was all my life. And then on down. Right. It goes on down to there was times of doing my mom was involved in, she'd always help with the food bank too, but she would do the Meals on Wheels. And my grandma and my mom would always be doing the Meals on Wheels thing, driving around, dropping off food. It was all kind of associated with the food bank. So I'd say the early years of my life, probably the first, being capable from 7, 8 years old on to probably 10, 11, 12, somewhere in there, I was always involved in that, always some kind of support, all the way up until my grandma's memorial was literally at the Grange, so now probably what kind of ended all that. That's what capped it off. Then it was done, so, but yeah, no, grew up doing it,
I think that's beautiful, but I do think it's rare. I think a lot of people don't have those experiences. But from them, do you have a favorite story and you think of your whole life, not just like when you were younger, of a volunteer thing that you did that was a lot of fun?
I think it was one of my more recent ones, actually. So I went to the 50-50 raffle for the Task Force 12 with the Seattle Seahawks, right? And so we get there and we're making our teams, and I join up with Marcus Cola, right? And this guy is a hoot. And I tell you what, we are marching around the Seahawks Stadium, singing cadence, asking for people to buy 50-50 raffle tickets. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, it was so fun, dude. I mean, and Nino was with us, and so just kind of, just marching, singing cadence, freaking getting raffles is fun.
Well, Marcus is also one of my best friends, and so he will be on the podcast. But I have to say, his laughter. There are 2 people in my life that have crazy, amazing, awesome laughters, and it's Katie Lent and Marcus. And they both came out actually for my book launch, and to get those 2 crazy, awesome laughters together, oh my God, my face hurt at the end of the night.
That Marcus is great too. That's actually a different one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, it's fine. It's fine. No, that Marcus is great too. I know his laugh, absolutely. And his passion, totally, love that guy. Absolutely. But yeah, no.
Different Marcus. Okay.
Different Marcus. Yeah. Marcus Cola he's up in Auburn and he owns Apex Electric.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So does a lot of volunteer stuff. He's a combat veteran too.
Nice. I think I've met him, but I'm not 100% certain now.
It's all good. So.
But cool. Well, that's really great. I always ask my guests, I say, in the state of Washington, I think it's Washington and Oregon. I don't know if it's every state. Kids in high school have to volunteer 10 hours a year to actually graduate. Like they have to prove that they have volunteered. Do you think mandating volunteering for kids is the way to go?
Oh, do I have a biased opinion on this? I think Am I going to be biased? Am I like, is it a conflict of interest?
It's an opinion. No, it's not.
Is it a conflict of interest for me to say? Absolutely.
Okay.
Right. I want them out there. I'd love to have the kids coming out and experiencing some of what's going on in life. Cause I mean, that's a lot of, when we're doing nonprofit stuff, it's passion projects. It's who maybe the more vulnerable populations of the world a lot of times. Right. So maybe not necessarily always the vulnerable populations, but it does seem to kind of trend that way. And so having them out there I think it's huge. It's a huge piece of life that, they discover a passion for themselves. I mean, that's where my story began, so.
I feel my only concern with it is when you mandate things, then they're not necessarily creative. Like they're not, because you're being told to do it. I don't know that they're necessarily looking for their passion. And then over the summer, I learned from some of the school counselors and coaches that I was working with that a lot of people won't allow kids under the age of 16 to volunteer. And so I was like, well, then we just need to create programs for the kids. So I don't know what the legalities or concerns right now with food banks are, but I know that kids could work together to clean up a park or clean up around their school or do a project. They just need to have a nonprofit or an organization come around them to qualify their hours.
Right. Sign off on it. Yeah. And I mean, and context is everything around that. If you're just going to mandate, hey, you got to do 10 hours of community service, that could be combined with the thought of like a jail sentence, right? Like it could be combined with that thought. So context around this is everything. I would say as it's put out, and we'd have to rely on our schools and the people who are required to mandate it to put it out in such a way that it shows like, hey, we want you to go out and find something. Like think in your mind, if you could help someone in the world today, who would you want to help?
And what would it look like? I agree. I think context is everything. So I think it's interesting, or I wonder what context they're being given.
Yeah.
If the counselors and the coaches feel like there's complications or there's, challenges to it. And I also wonder about marginalized kids who are growing up without a lot of support. How are they being supported to be successful?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know for me, it's kind of, there's this little like thing that you go into like some groups do. You'll go in and they'll be like, how many of you want to help people? And like 100% of the room raise their hand, right? Like I've seen it. And so it's really just got to kind of be developed around that. And if it was presented like that versus you got to spend 2 hours of doing something you don't want to do, because I mean, how many kids want to go out and, clean up yards or whatever, right? A few, right? There'll be a few that, hey, I like hard work, some might want to, go in and help food bank, help feed people, serve, some might want to do that. Some might want to do something that's a little bit more exciting and challenging, whether it's, think about it. You could go all the way from the concept of Special Olympics, right? People are excited about sports, that'd be a great place to coach, train, that's, we got Matt McInnes who's into that stuff, I'm sure he would tell us, oh yeah, it'd be great to have him do, so maybe someone that understands the basketball game, reads the rules on a wheelchair, they can ref, right? There's all kinds of stuff.
There is, but you're not suggesting that for me, anything with sports.
Probably not, just because every time you get around an athlete who's a superstar, aside from Michael Jordan, you aren't going to know who they are.
Right. Because for those who don't know, I don't speak sports. And it's funny because one of the organizations that I work with and have volunteered a ton of hours to is Merging Vets and Players. And so you would think that if this is an organization I'm super passionate about, that is about connecting professional athletes and veterans, that I would have a clue. And Tony is here to share, to witness. I do not have a clue in the world of sports.
Well, now we're going to ask the test question. Which sport was Michael Jordan?
Basketball.
We got it. Nailed that one.
Sweating a little bit over here.
You made me nervous. I saw the pause and it made me nervous. It's like, oh no.
Yes. And, and I think I look forward to, I'm hoping to have actually down the road, eventually have sports people, because I think because within the world of sports, they actually do mandate almost or have an expectation of volunteerism. And so from that perspective of somebody who is a philanthropist or has incredible amount of influence, what does volunteering look like? Because I'm sure it looks completely different from their perspective than it has been for me, where most of, or you and I both, our volunteering is can be much more grassroots. I'm making an impact for these kids over here. This is my my goal, and how I'm doing things and it's not global or.
I mean, you kind of sprouted an idea. I mean, I would offer the volunteer hours to go down and participate in the practice drills that they do in Centralia for the military, National Guard drills. Hey,
maybe, yeah.
Hey, all volunteer Army, let's go. All volunteer military.
Right. That's it's funny. One of the questions that I have asked also is the difference between, I think people kind of get things mixed up, the difference between service and volunteer. And I think this is true with soldiers and first responders. And I side more on police than on fire. But when you're paid to be in front of the community and what you're doing is of service, a lot of people will see them as volunteering, or even people in those roles who are like, I already served my country, which is true, honorable and awesome, but not the same as somebody who is a true volunteer who's not being paid, which is, a lot of people get confused, and to me, it makes sense. I volunteered for the Travis Manion Foundation for over 2 years before coming on staff. Same true about a year and a half with MVP before coming on staff. But I no longer, those are not my volunteer roles, even though they're nonprofits, and I'm basically doing the same work. Just now I get paid for it, so I don't consider them my volunteer. I volunteer as a key support liaison for my husband's unit, and I volunteer for a credit union, which you think is crazy.
I do. I think that one's crazy. I don't know. I got a clear understanding there. So I'm like, okay. But anyways, on the when I think about the volunteering versus the service and all that, it kind of leads back into, the stipends and the things that are given for, like the AmeriCorps people, stuff like that. Like that's still just meeting basic needs. Right. And so I don't really, I could see there being a fine line to scrutinize that's not visible, because it's like, hey, basic needs need to be met so you can do this passion project. And us people want you to do that, right? The community wants you to be there for that, but your basic needs still have to be met. Now, I do get the other side of it too, because my mom has been big on, that lady will jump in her minivan, drive around and buy people food. Right, or donate money to places totally anonymously, right? Because she's like, this is my, I think it's like we're actually coming up on that time, but she'll probably do something again this year. She does something different every year, she'll do something that's just anonymous, and so it's. I get that aspect, and that's kind of where you're going with the volunteering side of it, right? Like you're going to give yourself freely and just go do it, versus the getting paid, where it just as volunteers like you and I, it does feel a little bit weird, but it's still definitely needed.
Right. Well, and if our whole goal is to build a better community, build better societies, build, then you need both. Like you said, I need my mortgage to be paid. My kids need to eat, and so finding a job that is my passion project, that is, this is me winning the lottery. And that's why I say, if I won the lottery, I do exactly what I do right now, just with less meetings.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. No,
but not a lot of people can say that. Like, a lot of people have much better paying jobs, but they hate them. They're living in toxic environments. They're not. And to me, that's why I love my life. Even when it's hard, even though especially working with mental health and working with people who are struggling on different levels, our work can be hard, but it is super fulfilling.
Yeah.
Like, I don't go to sleep thinking, geez, what did I do of value today? Maybe it's a Saturday, but you know what I mean? But I love what I do. And volunteering, so I'm not trying to say like comparative superiority, the only people of value, the people who are doing it without money and without recognition. I don't want to, I just think here's actually what I think sometimes. I think the service member or the police officer who is in that front-facing position actually should still volunteer, not in that area. A cop could volunteer at a humane society and pet kittens, and it would most likely benefit their mental health.
We're going to have to ask Cody about that one. We're like, hey, we need you to come pet.
Or Cody, it would be puppies.
Oh, we need you to come pet puppies.
Like, are you? But that's
on your podcast.
That would be a great show. Like, if we brought in one of those when you have like a whole litter of puppies and stuff, and have Cody, and we'd sit on the ground, crisscross applesauce.
Yep.
Yes. You could probably see the stress just leave his body.
Yeah.
But that's the point of volunteering that I think people get mixed up. They don't realize volunteering should pour into you. Mm-hmm. If it's sucking your life force, you're in the wrong spot.
Yeah.
Even if you're doing a good thing.
Yeah. I think, I just go. That's what I do. I don't, somewhere along the line, I decided, and I've got my stories out there. I came from a pretty tumultuous past, and we all have our stories. But somewhere I decided that I just owe that debt to society, and it's a lifetime debt, and so I just go. It doesn't really matter what I'm doing. Sometimes it's volunteering. Sometimes it's, it has value for my life. Sometimes I just go. I don't really put any thought, any meaning behind what I do. If something comes up that's in my area and in my AO that I can help, I do it. And if and then I just go to the next thing. Sometimes I share that I'm just chasing endorphins sometimes. And I think it's all of it. I mean, sometimes I enjoy the recognition. Sometimes I enjoy nobody didn't even know I did it. So it's just, I think all of it comes into play, and so for me, I just go.
Yeah, I agree. I'm the same. But my ethos is, I want to give as much as I can, however I can, whenever I can. Period. It's just that simple. If I can do it, I can connect someone to it. I can help. That's what I want to do. But it's because I didn't see it as having a debt to society as much as this is what brings me joy. This is, but I do feel like volunteering can be a huge part in helping with mental well-being and mental health.
Yeah.
That's why I said, like, if all of our cops were in the Humane Society's petting kittens, they'd have a little less stress. And, and if our, soldiers and service members, you're doing the things, if you're rocking babies, if you're, but even working at a food bank, because you're getting out of your own head, and what you're doing can help just your well-being.
Yeah.
And, but Cody actually also really loves building stuff, like being a part of, if we're doing this for a veteran house or something like that, he likes those kinds of projects.
I didn't know. I just served Habitat for Humanity over in Puyallup, built a veterans house, and they were trying to find veterans and stuff to come help. They did. I just heard about it through a guy at WAFED. And I was like, man, I didn't see anything in my network about it.
Neither did I.
Nothing, So
I would go maybe pound in a couple meals. Yeah. Really, I'd bring food.
I'd come on. I could come on and do a portion or something,
Right. Mark likes projects like that.
Yeah.
As long as there's not counting, someone else counts for him, he's good.
Yeah, I mean, I got a tractor. I can't wait to get it out there, right? I want to do something with it. I've been waiting for the right opportunity, So I'm not very good with the tractor either, even though I did operate a little bit of heavy machinery, but it wasn't the Kubota. That was a Bobcat 5-ton dump truck, all that stuff. But or C truck. So I'm not the greatest with my Kubota yet. I'm learning it still, just because it's a little bit different to operate, how to get things to do what you want to do. But I'd love to use it.
And I will say Mark is really great with any type of machinery or vehicles because he's a truck driver and he trains people on all the different weird equipment for loading planes and different things like that.
I mean, we could be a whole chapter in your next book. Me and Mark just driving around doing
that's right.
The tractor.
Well, and I think, it's like my dad did HVAC, heating, ventilating, architectural sheet metal. And once he retired, but he also does HVAC, like putting in ductless air, different things like that. Now he's 82, and so he should not be doing it. Please don't call him. No. But that was his volunteerism, was fixing the heating sources of older people in his church. And people within the community, like you would just be paying for the parts and he would do all the work for free. And that was his way of volunteering.
I like that.
And as he's at a certain age where he can't lift water heaters the way he used to, different things like that, that's where he got into the painting. And he does the paintings of fallen heroes and different things like that.
Oh, yeah. I saw the last one you gave.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
And it's amazing when you think his handshakes. He's colorblind and he's 82.
Oh, no.
But we'll have him on at a different time too. But so do you have any projects coming up?
I'm working on a big one right now. We've had Nine Lines had a vision to build something called Fob Rainier for a long time. And so definitely been making small steps and strides to trying to put that together, something that can house like 32 families and house our warehouse operations, something like that. I got that coming up. I think, of course, we got the Veterans Resource Fair we do every year. That'll be coming up. And then I'm waiting for my friend Amy to add me to the second story of her books because, I've read like 5 books in my life and Amy's is one of them, right? All stories of Volunteeraholic. So I need to get into the next one, but I need you to do some stuff so we can go do it, right? So, I mean, what do you got coming up, right? I know we're going to Vegas in April. That'll be fun.
That'll be fun.
So,
yeah, I do think we need to get a project, but you could write a story in the next book, and it can be over anything you want. So it could be volunteering for life.
I gotta write it. I thought you were going to write it.
I can write it. So I think I should have 2 different options for this next book. You can write your own chapter and I edit, or I can write it for you and you edit it. So that way you're correcting what I'm saying about your story.
Yeah.
Either of those options are available. So if you wanted to write your own chapter.
Never thought about that.
Yeah.
Never thought about that. Some good projects coming up too. I mean, I love this. I love to talk about things in first person too. So it's like you're actually like there.
Mm-hmm.
So. But,
I would love that. I would love for you to write a chapter in the next book.
The Veterans Resource Fair would be a good one too. That'd be a good one.
I think the ones with all the different parts and pieces that have multiple parts and pieces, because that's content. And then I also always kind of look for either the special or the funny.
Yeah.
Like
heartfelt.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like when you're I think it was the first year, the veteran resource, the smell of some of those backpacks brought me back to military world. And I was so thankful that I was not taking any of those home.
There's actually a photo of me, Larry Turk, Sean, Dave Conkler standing around a veteran who was homeless and just basically sitting out there because he didn't know where he was going to go next. And we actually were able to get that veteran's house from the Veterans Resource Fair.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, so it's a cool picture too, because you could just you look at the picture like, hey, that's what we do.
Well, as you know, we have pictures in the book.
Oh, yeah, that's true. You do have pictures. Yes.
Because I think it's one thing to say things, but I do think pictures are worth 1,000 words. And it's not just me saying I did these things or.
Especially when you don't even know what you're capturing. I mean, whenever that picture was taken, nobody knew that that's what was going to happen next, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
It is cool. It is cool. And we could have a picture of one of the houses that you guys use. It didn't necessarily have to be his, but, what the next step looks like. Or we could have that picture. And then if you have the fob Rainier, is that what you were going to call it? Place, if that were, breaking ground on it or something like that, that would be a nice complimentary picture too.
I think the new goal for that one is probably 2026. I don't know. I'll know more in January at our board retreat when the board says which way they want to go. So,
well, the book won't be published probably until 2026.
Oh,
and pictures go and last.
Oh, yeah. There you go. So,
yeah, that would be cool. Well, is there anything else that you want to share about volunteering?
I think, I think around volunteering, around this topic is where people can find out who they are, what they're passionate about, and getting out there. And sometimes you got to take some steps, to see, you can't just dive right into one thing. You may not be passionate about serving veterans. Maybe you're passionate about serving kids, and youth, or maybe troubled youth, or, cultural diversity stuff. There's all kinds of things where you can get passionate. And a lot of times what I've seen is if you're good at something in those areas, it's easier to get passionate about it. So, like if it's troubled youth and you're playing basketball and you're really good at basketball, back to sports, of course, teaching those kids how to play, fixing their shot, showing them how to dribble, giving them the right drills, stuff like that that takes a lot of time, a lot more time playing basketball than you are getting in trouble, right? So,
right.
But yeah, finding your passion with volunteering, I think it's a huge benefit that you should enjoy.
I agree. Well, thank you for bringing us back. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Like I said, it's Tony Dayton, Amy T. Meyer, Stories of a Volunteeraholic.